My name is Linda DeMeritt, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about why I'm a Democrat. The answer to that question has a lot to do with my own personal and my own professional life, goals, dreams. Um, I have been a Democrat ever since I first voted. I registered as a Democrat, and I've never been anything but a Democrat. And it's a little surprising considering that the rest of my family, my three siblings, my mom and my dad, they were always Republicans. I do have to say that my mom, since my dad passed away, votes Democrat now, and so she is an ally of mine, especially in the last election and going forward, actually starting with Obama. She's been a Democrat too. There are many different values that I share with the Democratic Party, values that are important to me and that, again, have been reflected in my personal and professional life. There are so many, I'm not going to talk about all of them. I'm just going to pick out four different ones. And I'd like to start out with public education. I had an excellent public education growing up. I didn't really realize how good it was until maybe 10, 20 years later, when I would compare what opportunities and experiences I was able to have, what I learned compared to other students. One of the examples, but maybe a very obvious example, is that I took 4 years of high school German and I placed into third year college German. And it wasn't me alone, because I had a girlfriend who did the same thing, was in the same high school German class, and she also placed into third year German. So I just had an excellent education, and it allowed me to eventually get my PhD in German literature. And then I went on to become a professor of German at a liberal arts college. And then even after 24 years of teaching, I became the provost of that college. And so that education really set my way. It allowed me to achieve my goals, and everybody deserves that kind of an education. But not everybody is getting that kind of education, unfortunately. There are obstacles to it. One of the obstacles is the fact that the funding for public education is not fair, really. It comes from the community, so if you happen to live in a poorer community, then your school doesn't have the same resources available to it and its students as if you are from an upper middle class community. And I grew up in an upper middle class community. Another barrier is a historic one, where the GI Bill after World War II provided a free higher education. At this point, we're talking about higher education, but it only applied to white men. I didn't know this until recently. It did not apply to Black men who served, and it did not apply to women who served. And yet that was really the basis in the 1950s of establishing a middle class in America. And how can you do this with only part of the population who served? It just floored me when I learned about that inequity. Another thing that's happening more recently, much more recently, in particular in Florida, which is where I now live, is that some of the money that should be going toward public schools is going toward vouchers. And the vouchers are supposedly offering people more choice, but they're only offering more choice to those people who have the money anyway. And that money is being taken away from the public schools. So I am for an excellent public education for everybody. And I ask myself again and again, well, why can't we fix that? And the only way that's going to happen is through the Democratic platform.